October is over. We're firmly into November. It's freezing outside. Is the housing market just as cold? Let's check it out. Before we get to it, I just want to say hello. My name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'm a local realtor that works here in the Belleville, Quinte West, and surrounding areas. If you have any questions, reach out. Information is down below. Give it a thumbs up. Let's get to it. So we're firmly into winter, as I mentioned. It's now November. The first snowfall has come, and everyone's still asking the question, well, what's going on? A lot of questions about the economy, but also about the housing market. And in this video, hopefully, once we are finished, you're going to have a better idea of what's happening here, Belleville and Trenton area, but also different economic factors that might have an effect on our market as we head into the winter. As I mentioned, Belleville, Trenton. If you don't know where that is, it's a smaller town, smaller population. Belleville is around 60,000 people. Quinte West is a little less. And you look at Toronto, and then you go down Highway 401 about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and there we are. I use Belleville and Trenton specifically because I think it's a good representation of what's happening in this area. We're going to look at 4 stats. Nice and simple, give you a good roundup of what's happening. First one we're going to look at, months of inventory. This is what you hear quite often when people are reflecting on whether it's a buyer or seller's market. This is the number that will often be referred to. It's basically a ratio between the sales and the active listings. And what it means in layman's terms is if no more houses came on the market, it continued to sell at the same rate, how quickly would we sell out? How many months of inventory do we have? And the numbers often used, which I use here as well, is 1 to 3 months, you are in a seller's market. Houses are selling quickly. There's not as much coming on. Between 3 and 5, more of a balanced market. And once you hit 5 and above, then you are into buyer's territory. And so let's get to the stats. So first we have the months of inventory for October of 2025. As we can see here, it's kind of flatlined. And so I mentioned about that 5 months of inventory going into that buyer's territory. We're definitely seeing that almost right at 5 months of inventory the last 3 months. And so buyers are a little bit more in control in that respect. Average sale price. Everyone loves to hear it and ask me, what is the average sale price for a home in Belleville, Quinte West, Trenton area? And I'll usually tell them, well, you're looking in the 500,000 range, but they definitely come in lower. And then we have a lot that will be higher as well. So it's really an average that can be skewed quite heavily depending on how many high-end homes are selling. This month, we came in at 510,000, which is a fairly significant drop from last month where we were at 560,000. I will break that number down a little bit more, 510. Between Belleville and Quinte West, Belleville was actually quite low. It was around 460, whereas Trenton was, and Quinte West was 560. And so it's quite skewed between the two, and it just shows how there are many different pockets. And so if you're having a lot of lower end homes that are selling, well, it's going to dominate and it's going to bring that average down, and that's what we're seeing. Number of sales. How many homes are actually selling in our area on average? Well, this past month we had 101 sales. And as you can see, May of 25, we reached that peak. We had about 160 sales in that month, and it has been a slow decline ever since. Now, the other thing to look at, year over year, October of last year, well, we were over 100 sales as well. So not much of a change as to where we were last year. And then finally, days on market. People wonder, a house goes on market, what's the average time for it to sell? And once again, I emphasize average. We've got some that will be on the market for many, many days, and some that price really low and will sell immediately. And so the average taken into account for this past month, 39 days on the market. Right back down a little bit. It's kind of been hovering in that 30 to 45 day mark now ever since basically the beginning of summer. And so to me, that's a healthy number, what you want to be seeing. Now, we're going to look at a few different indicators that we want to be looking at as we move forward. Those are the stats. Right now, if I look at those and just for what they are, I would say, okay, we are now heading into winter. things are quieting down a little bit, but not a ton. Not anything shocking. I mean, you're hearing in the news from areas like Toronto, Vancouver, bigger markets, and they've got big swings, whereas we're not quite seeing that here locally. It's a little bit more steady. People are still buying and selling just like they were a year ago, like we saw, same number of sales. But what about the economy? There's a lot of negativity, and I kind of waited to do this video a little bit later because I wanted to see what was happening because we had the federal budget coming out. It was delayed. And so people were just wondering what's going to be going on. What's the plan moving forward? Because sentiment is such an important factor when people are deciding as to whether they want to move, buy, or sell. They're thinking, what is happening? What is the news telling me about the market? Is it a good time or is it not? Right now, I'm getting a feeling that a lot of people are saying, market's terrible, it's falling, and it's only getting worse. That's what you're hearing. That's the sentiment. But of those 106 sales that you saw happening, a large portion of those people, they're not looking at that. They're looking at, hey, I'm in a position with my job, with my family, with my school zones where I want to leave this house and move to this other house, or I want to leave a big city and come move towards the Trenton and Belleville areas. They're not worrying about what's happening with the economy. But overall, they're still thinking about it, and others that are looking to jump in are thinking, what is happening? So first off, the budget was released. The federal budget came out, quite a deficit. The spending is not down, and whatever way you lean politically doesn't really matter. The facts are that more spending is going to be happening. Whether it's going to be invested in something that will produce and make our country stronger remains to be seen. Ultimately, though, people are going to react and say, oh, we're spending more money. And why are we spending more money? Well, we feel the need to invest because things are not going great in the economy right now. Numbers seem to be getting worse. And I'll talk about interest rates briefly in a moment, but that's very much related as to what's going on in this. And so a lot of confusion. Honestly, people breaking down the budget are confused. There's different terminology being used now. The budget's being divided differently, different definitions. A lot of people just don't really understand what is happening and where the money is going and where it's coming from. Well, we know where it's coming from, taxes, but where it's going to be going and how it's invested, no one really seems to understand. If you ask somebody, they will fall in line with, I vote this way, so I think good, or I vote this way and I think bad. But they don't really have any sort of basis for why they're saying that. And that seems to be the consensus even amongst the media from what I'm seeing as well. And that leads to interest rates. We had another cut, and there were a lot of people saying, this is great. This is going to help me with my mortgage. The people that have a variable rate mortgage are saying that. But anyone with fixed rates is basically seeing that they're not changing. The fixed rates have not been changing along those same lines as the variable rate at all. They're staying very much in that low 4s area. They dip below 4 a little bit, but ultimately you're kind of in that low 4% range. And so they cut the interest rate. The big question is, why did they do it? And that points back to because they see the economy not doing well in Canada, and they are trying to spur things on. They're not cutting the interest rate because they want to lower people's mortgages. They are doing it because that's all they can do to help spur on the economy. Inflation isn't coming down, and so it's kind of interesting that they did cut because they probably didn't have to. If the mandate of the Bank of Canada is to kind of keep inflation in check, they've done that. There's no need to be doing any cuts. So clearly they're doing it for other reasons. In this case, they're trying to spur the economy on, which brings about more fear because people are thinking, what's happening with our jobs? Are we safe going forward? Is the economy starting to fall as we move forward? And that brings me to my last point, and it's that winter chill. As I started off with, markets go in cycles. And I mentioned the fall cycle. Generally, you would come up in the fall, you'd go down in the winter, and then the spring, you'd see it come back up again. Well, we didn't have that uptick in the fall. Many people are saying the sky is falling. Everything's going down. Markets are going to go down. Stock market and housing market, nobody really knows. The real question is this the bottom? We've gone down. Can it go lower? I said it's fairly steady in our area, but the bigger areas down towards the GTA and such, they have seen a drop and they have seen a dip. The question is, when is that bottom, and will it hold people back from transacting, whether it be buying or selling? that remains to be seen. So if you're looking to make a decision on making a move right now or later on the winter or waiting for spring, this is a conversation you're going to want to be having right now. If you made it this far, please reach out. I'd love to have that conversation with you, kind of discuss which way we think it might be going and what's best for your situation if you're in the buying or selling phase. Once again, thanks for sticking around. Hit that little subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Till next time.